Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. So we're back with issue 8 and we have our lore articles to read. So we got the parts about the Departmento Munitorum and a couple of pages about the Tyranids. So yeah, some nice new lore articles to read. Then we'll hit our gaming articles in the next video. So before we hit the table, don't forget to do all the usual. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and drop me a comment down below. How is your Combat Patrol journey going and what Combat Patrols are you looking forward to getting the most next? I'm looking forward to the Aeldari. I've always liked the Aeldari, but I never get on well because I choose Iyanden usually, and that's a really difficult colour scheme to do with yellow. But yellow is a lot easier to paint nowadays, so I might go that way. I haven't decided yet. I'm still tempted to just follow the magazine for everything. But I think the one I'm looking forward to the most, actually, is the Leagues of Votann, especially with the colour scheme the magazine has chosen for them. The black and yellow, which looks really nice. Can't wait to get around to doing them. Finally, don't forget Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They have a good selection of new and second-hand models from your various gaming systems, from Warhammer 40,000 through to War Machine. They also stock paints, paintbrushes, dice and tokens for all your different gaming systems. So check them out, warbay.shop, there'll be a link in the video description. Alright, with that rambling done, let's head to the table and we'll do some reading. Here we are then, back with issue 8, and it's time for some new lore articles. So we'll put our termagants off to the side for the moment, ready for our game next video. And now we can turn to our new read articles. So I'll adjust the camera and we'll get into the magazine. Skipping over our paint guides, we can head straight to our first read article then. So this is all about the Departmento Munitorum. Wars are not only fought with valour and cunning, but with logistics. Within the Imperium, the vast task of supplying its trillions-strong armies falls to the venerable Departmento Munitorum. The logistical challenges of the Imperium are sanity-shattering in scale. Every day, on every front, soldiers require fresh ammo, rations and equipment, all of which must risk transit across the unstable and dangerous tides of the warp. It is the Departmento Munitorum that undertakes this colossal task. The tools of salvation are faith and bullets. To some, the Departmento Munitorum is a saviour. Their armoured containers offering the hope of victory in the face of overwhelming odds. To others, the Departmento Munitorum represents the very worst of imperial bureaucracy, where requesting even a single bullet requires reams of cryptic paperwork. A unit of Tempestus Scions receives a much-needed resupply of las packs and weaponry in the field. Very similar to the colour scheme I paint my actual own Tempestus Scions. Yeah. Lifeblood of the Imperium. Whatever its faults, without the Departmento Munitorum, the Imperium would collapse. Without the regiments of Astra Militarum, the Departmento Munitorum raises, thousands of worlds would fall, and without the constant supply of material provided by the Munitorum, even the most stalwart warriors would starve to death or be overrun with their ammunition ran out. Sign of office. Supplying a realm of the size of the Imperium requires ruthless standardization. Munitorum approved gear is always stamped with their symbol for reference. We've got the winged skull with a couple of bolters at the back. Looking very sinister. Some Munitorum armor containers have travelled the length and breadth of the Imperium. And there we have the standard issue. Munitorum container. I have plenty of these left over from Imperium. We had 3 with Conquest, we had 3 with Imperium. Somehow I ended up with 4 from each due to duplicate issues. Finally, we've got 1 quote left on this page. The truly heroic trust in blind faith. Moving on, we have a new page focusing on the Tyrannic Wars, this one being the second. Tyranids of Hive Fleet Kraken fall upon the Ultramarines in a frenzy of teeth and claws. The second Tyrannic War. After the first Tyrannic War, the Imperium dared to hope that the Tyranids were banished forever. They were wrong. Centuries later, the Tyranids returned in even greater numbers. Spearheaded by a Hive Fleet designated Kraken, the Tyranids scoured dozens of worlds in a conflict surpassing the First Tyrannic War. By the time the Imperium realized a second Tyranid invasion was underway, countless worlds had already fallen. Where Hive Fleet Behemoth had struck in a brutal, singular assault, Hive Fleet Kraken launched its invasion via numerous smaller, but no less deadly tendrils, which attacked on dozens of different fronts. Even when the Imperium did successfully manage to intercept the Tyranids, the tactics employed by Hive Fleet Kraken proved just as devious as their strategy. The Tyranids would burrow behind Imperial lines, launch deadly ambushes, and strike without warning, on every possible front. It took the combined efforts of several Space Marine chapters and a staggering number of lives to eventually halt the second Tyrannic invasion at the Battle of Ikar IV. The Imperium was reeling, and the Tyranids had learned even more about how their prey fought. So yeah, my favourite of the Hive Fleets, Hive Fleet Kraken, their bone and red colour scheme, looking very awesome and ferocious there. The Battle of Iyanden. It was not only humanity who suffered at the hands of Hive Fleet Kraken. The Aeldari also bore horrifying losses at the jaws of this Hive Fleet. The Iyanden craft world, a colossal city ship home to many Aeldari, was invaded by a huge swarm of Tyranid war organisms. No warrior was spared in the defense of the craft world, from hastily raised guardian militias to robotic ghost warriors controlled by the spirits of the dead. By the time that Hive Fleet Kraken was driven off, a full 4/5 of the craft world's population was dead or dying. So yeah, favourite Hive Fleet and my favourite craft world. Although they suffered quite a devastating loss, they are persevering, and with the return of their leader, Prince Uriel, they are striving ever forward with the reinforcement of his corsairs. The Guardians of Iyanden desperately hold the line against their monstrous foe. Speaking of the craft world colours, I will be putting up a poll later on once we come to close to the 20 issues on whether you want me to keep following the magazine for my colour schemes, or if you'd like to see me do Iyanden, depending on if we do get yellow by the time we come to painting the Aeldari. Ikar IV. On Ikar IV, the Imperium finally ended the Second Tyrannic War, and Minas Calgar got his revenge. On countless occasions before the battle, the Tyranids used their adaptiveness and learnings from previous encounters to secure victory. Here it was the Imperium's turn. Minas Calgar led battle-hardened veterans from the fighting on Macragge in a series of devastating assaults on Hive Fleet Kraken's forces. When the Swarm Lord took to the field, Calgar once again duelled the beast, managing to fell it and securing victory for the planet's defenders, albeit with heavy losses on the Imperium side. So while it was a victory, it was a fairly hollow one, as yet again the Imperium had suffered greatly at the hands of the Tyranids. And then we see the modern Calgar, not the Calgar of the time. This is his Primaris version, as you can tell by the Mark X style plating. But yeah, pretty cool. The hero of Ikar IV, and a awesome model. I miss mine actually. I might want to get a second one of him just to paint again. Continuing with the Tyranids, we have a page all about the Great Devourer. Whatever the mysterious goals of the hive mind, to their enemies, the Tyranids seem to live only to feed. Nothing can satisfy the Tyranids' ravenous appetite for biomass. They leave only ruin in their wake, harvesting any and all organic matter they encounter, including themselves. Tyranid warships hungrily crack open the wing of Imperial vessels. So yeah, we see Blood Angel Thunderhawk being assaulted by a Tyranid vessel, and many other Imperial ships falling to various different void beasts. The Tyranids are often called the Great Devourer. This is no mere nickname. Everything the Tyranids encounter is eaten and incorporated into the swarm. From flooding vessels with digestive juices during space combat to deforesting entire planets with dedicated feeder organisms, the Tyranids are relentless in their hunt for biomass. Their bizarre biology allows them to transform the mulched bodies of the fallen into fresh reinforcements with horrifying speed. Worse, some believe that Tyranids are capable of extracting the genetic code from their fallen foes, using it to breed even deadlier war organisms, perfectly adapted to slaughter the defenders of the Imperium. If the Devourer arrives, pray to the Emperor for salvation. Death of a world. The Tyranid invasion follows a clear series of stages, a recipe for death that has seen the ruin of innumerable planets. Once the Tyranid's infestation cycle has begun, only radical intervention can break it. No matter how verdant the world or how ardently it is defended, most will end up as lifeless husks. Invade. A Tyranid infestation is subtle at first. As the Hive Fleet approaches, vanguard organisms will make landfall and begin assassinating key targets. Meanwhile, cults tainted with Tyranid DNA will begin rising up, causing chaos on the planet's surface. Overwhelm. Once they have had a foothold, the Tyranids will attack in force. The hive mind will send wave after wave of warrior organisms into the fray, each successive cavalcade of nightmares better adapted to annihilate the planet's beleaguered defenders. And consume. Once all resistance is shattered, the Tyranids will begin to feed. The atmosphere is pumped with choking spores, while the oceans are drunk dry by huge void ships. Every scrap of biomass on the planet is devoured and processed for later use. So there we have it, some very interesting information about the Tyranids and how they go about dismantling a world. Alright, moving on, we got our collecting article, so I'm going to need my issue 2 for my Tyranid naming sheet. So I'll be right back. So I have issue 2, I have a pen, and I have a dice. So if we turn to our naming chart, so we roll for the row, then we roll for the column. So we have part 1 and part 2 of the name. So let's roll on table 1. So we've got 6 right at the bottom here, followed by a 4, the all-consuming. Ooh, very nice. And the second name, so 2, followed by 4, the all-consuming killer. I was almost tempted to re-roll that because it got cocked, and we would have had 1, the actually that would have been a better name, the all-consuming claw. I'm tempted to cross that out and put claw instead. That sounds a lot better. Okay, the all-consuming claw. So, thank you, issue 2. Alright, so we've built our unit and we painted it. I'm going to probably go back and get some Tipex or something and clean that up. And we will be playing with it very shortly. So flipping over, we got the data sheet for them. So we'll be getting, as I said, a second unit of these. So we won't be getting a second data sheet as we have a special rule to look at here, which is called Patrol Squads. The hive mind has been observed to deploy termagant swarms in both large hordes and smaller probing units that attack from every angle. Once you have all 20 termagants and you are playing combat patrol, you can represent this in your battles by choosing to split the collection of termagants into 2 units of 10. Don't worry about the patrol squad rules for the next few battles. So really cool, we can take to the field in one big swarm or 2 smaller swarms and strike from different angles. So we've got our normal stats here, our weapons, so the flesh borer and a chitinous claws and teeth. So the rippers aren't actually useful in the game at the moment, but if you do field them, they will attack with the chitinous claws and teeth. But I recommend making 4 attacks, for 1 for each of the rippers on the base, if you do want to use them, but that's up to you. Faction, the Synapse, and they have the Skulking Horrors, so once per turn when an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback within 9 of this unit, if this unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, it can make a normal move up to D6, so they can slink away or get closer if they so choose. I remember back in the old 6th edition, they used to have instinctive behavior. If you was out of a Synapse creature's range, you would instantly either flee, head to the nearest enemy, or charge the nearest enemy. I think you also could have shot at the nearest enemy. I think they had 3 different things that they could do, and each one had 3 different things depending on how close they were to the enemy, which was all pretty cool. Right, there we have it. That is read and collect articles for issue 8. I won't bring the models back in as that's quite a lot, but there we have it. Thank you all very much for watching. Big thank you, of course, to Warbay for sponsoring Combat Patrol Carnage. Big thank you to everyone for watching, subscribing, liking the video, and of course dropping comments down below. Love hearing back from you guys, and I do try to reply to every comment where I can. But yeah, thank you all anyway, and I'll see you next time on Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.